if you're organized with your pricing and everything in your listing, you save yourself a headache down the line. You make sure what you're sending in is actually good product that is going to sell at some point, and you're pricing it at the point of what it would actually sell for. You're good to go, baby.
Welcome, everybody, to Paper Gold Deep Dive Excavation, Episode 3. Episode 1, 2, and this episode we're doing today will be launched in 2024 on a weekly basis on YouTube. Today we have Johnny B from Texas, and we have Kurt from Maryland, and we have a 60 minutes fun-filled packed questions of eBay and Amazon questions. We'll be doing deep dives into the concerns and the desires they have for growing their businesses. And we'll have them introduce themselves first, and then Cody will take it away, and we'll start with the questions. So Johnny B, do you want to start with who you are and talk a little bit about your operation?
Sure. I am Johnny B. I'm from Texas, in a little town no one's ever heard of called Winsboro, which is between Dallas and Tyler in the middle of nowhere. I sell primarily on eBay, and we've gotten into Amazon since late September. And we're currently doing both platforms. We may do some other platforms later next year, but right now we're focusing on those two primarily.
So, Kurt from Baltimore, Maryland. I am just looking to launch into bookselling this year, 2024. I used to have an antique store. I have a love for books. I buy books, and now I want to make some money on them.
Thank you, Kurt. So it's interesting. We have someone, Johnny B, who's very established in the game and the business, and then we have Kurt, who's starting to get into it. So this will be a great dichotomy for us to talk about different levels of questions here.
Based off that information, I think it would be wise to start with Kurt. So we're, instead of working backwards, we can work forwards as far as, what can be learned today. So Kurt, I know obviously I have questions that you have prepared. So if you have any of those that you want to target, go for it. But what I always say every time is, if you have any specific pain point of, I know you don't have an operation yet, but let's say a pain point of getting your foot in the door. Like if that's whatever part of that is causing you the biggest headache or complication, I would suggest starting there, but go with what you're feeling today.
Well, I'll start there. Is that when I think about selling, eBay and Amazon are two monstrous companies. And I'm like, I don't know how to get into this. And so it's like a big wall of, I don't even know which door to start to open. So I'll start with that.
So as far as, just to make sure I understand, you're like, your main question is, how do I get started and which one should I be focusing on?
Yeah. And what are the steps to establish accounts or with them?
Okay. Well, as far as both of those go, they're relatively easy, man, to be honest with you. Now, again, I know that since I joined Amazon, actually Johnny, since he's more recently stepped into it, he might be able to answer some of the newer questions that can come up from that. But it's as simple as going in, putting your name, your address information, and then verifying it. And once you start making, your payments towards having an Amazon store, you're good to go. Like that's it. Now there's a waiting period where they'll like send you something in the mail to verify your address, stuff like that. But that was as simple as it was for me, Johnny. I know that there have been a few different verification steps added since then. Do you have any insight on that?
Yes. They'll want to do a phone interview with you, and you have to have your photo ID available, and you have to show them your photo ID on this web conference call. So if you don't have a video camera or a phone camera, that may make that process hard, but I'm going to assume you have at least one of those two things. Another thing you'll probably want, and I would advise everyone that's starting to do this, you want to set up a business bank account up off the gate, because you never want to muddy your money, more or less.
Yeah.
Having everything separate from the get-go will be paying down the road. So they'll want that, as well as an established credit card. And then, like Cody said, they'll send you something in the mail, and you schedule an appointment. I think the whole process to do takes about 2 weeks all in all. On eBay's end, you could do it the same day as long as you have the bank account. Now, fun fact, if you enter information wrong, because you have to submit a form when you're scheduling this appointment, which I did. I messed up the day on my birthday. Couldn't remember my own birthday, apparently. They gave me 7 minutes. I was on a timer to correct information. I had to send them a photocopy, which was fun. I beat the timer, 30 seconds to spare. It was a fun game. And if you fail, well, you can do it again, apparently. Because I was worried about that. I was running out of time. So if you fail, you can do it again. Or if you mess up, you can do it again.
You're gonna scare poor Curtis.
Yeah,
He's gonna feel the pressure.
But again though, Kerr, all this stuff it's not like you have to figure this out. It's all laid out. They give you the directions on everything they need when you go to sign up. It's not like, oh, I've just got to figure it out. It's all out there, easy for you to do. And yeah, you can get a card, but you can also, just to get signed up, you can use your bank account card. You don't have to have a business account to start. You just to get your account established, and then after that you can go in and change whatever card you want down the line. So that's the easy step as far as that goes. And like he said, eBay is as simple as just going in and filling out the information that they ask for, and it's usually the same day you can start listing things. But what I will tell you, just based off what you've said to me so far as what your current life is, I would definitely start doing Amazon before moving into eBay, and maybe adding eBay as an addition down the line, because one thing you said before we started was time is a hard factor for you. Time is not on your side. So, and there's no better book business to be in than Amazon FBA, so fulfillment by Amazon, where basically all your entire job is to find the product, find the books, fill up a box of those books, and ship it to Amazon. And what they do from there is they're going to take those books. It'll be in their warehouse. The easiest way to describe it is like they're an eBay for your items. Like, instead of you listing and shipping, they're doing all of that for you. You get paid when they get paid, every 2 weeks. That's how that usually works. They take out some heavy fees, but your prices that you're able to sell these books at usually make up for that difference, the factor between, if you were to be doing it on eBay or not. But the beautiful part on FBA is once you send it into Amazon, you're pretty much done. If you have a repricer going, they're keeping up with, keeping your prices competitive based off the other sellers listing the same thing. And if as long as you're doing that, you're pretty much done. So you don't have to worry about being, oh, I had an order today, I need to make sure I get back home and I ship this thing out. It's Amazon's taking care of all that for you. So if you're able to devote certain times to creating your shipment and sourcing the books, that's where I would 100%.
Now, how do you decide what books you're sending in, and what is approximately the fees all wrapped total that you're going to see? Is it 20% of the sale price, 50%?
Across the board, it varies based off of what the price of your book that you sell is. Usually the higher the price, the less you're going to be paying in fees to Amazon. But the easiest way to look at it is, on average, it's going to be about 50% of what that sell price is.
Okay.
But the beautiful thing is there's tools like Scout IQ that will go ahead and break all that down for you. So that's just they're tools that will go through, check Amazon's database, check and see what the prices people are currently listing the book at, and check and see how fast the book sells, to give you most of the time an accurate reading of what you should expect to make off a book, and help you make the decision on whether or not you should send it in.
Okay, so that tool is there, so you can say, hey, is this worth sending in? If it isn't, it goes someplace else. If it is, you box it, send it.
Yes.
Okay.
But obviously with sets they're different, but it's not like you're doing it per book. It's not like you're boxing up a book, sending it to Amazon.
Right.
So just as an example, because my lister just dropped some off for me this morning, but this is this is mine. This has got about 30 different books that are going into Amazon, roughly right now, into into that shipment. So you create a shipment, again, using there's tons of listing softwares out there right now, but what we recommend, go-to lister, because it's the most user-friendly listing software out there right now,
Okay.
especially for getting started and being new into the game. It has a lot of features that will help you if you're keep you from making a mistake as far as, hey, sending in a restricted product or pricing. I don't necessarily agree with their pricing a lot of the time, but your biggest, what we recommend that's different than what a lot of people recommend, especially on the Amazon side of things, is when you're using a tool like Scout IQ, it's going to kind of pop up with red and green, whenever that book comes up. And that's going to tell you, in their eyes, green is good, you should send it. Red is bad, that you shouldn't send
Okay.
it. But what we recommend you do is focus on the numbers. And what I mean by the numbers that's going to be what the book is, like how fast the book is selling. So you've got your sales rank. That's where that comes from. Um, Sales rank is basically anywhere from 1 to 25 million. The lower it is, so the lower that number is, the faster it's selling. So each time that book sells in Amazon's warehouse, that number is going to drop lower and lower. So, again, this is one of those things. I could go into full detail on this, but your whole time slot will be gone by the end
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
But there's plenty of, from our videos that you can check out on that, other things as well to check out on that. And you can work with me, reach out to me and tell me, hey, I'm trying to get in on this. And Discord, people answer questions. So, but I want to get you kind of the gist of
Yeah,
it so you can
yeah.
understand the bare bones to it.
Is the game volume identifying books that have a good ranking and price point, and just move volume to Amazon and then let them do the selling part of it for you?
I would say yes, most of the time, but it's not all about volume. Sometimes it's about the quality of what you're
Right,
getting this
right.
stuff from.
Yeah.
So but there's a balance, like you have your bread and butter books where you're going to sell those for $10, $15. You're only making a few bucks on those, but they're going to sell so fast
Right, right.
that
right.
that adds up to be $50 here, $50 there when you sell 10 or 20 or 30 of those. But then
Right.
you're also going to have your books that are going to sit in your inventory for a little while, but when they sell, they're going to make you $30, they're going to make you $50, they're going to make you
Yep.
$200. So I wouldn't say you need to play one end or the other. You just
Right.
want to play
The
both.
balance. Okay.
Yeah, and right now there's no better time to get started on Amazon, like as far as a new seller, in my personal opinion, at least
Yeah.
since I started, because they had implemented restock limits, which really hurt booksellers, but they changed that to volume. So now you have 100, I think is considered cubic feet, whatever that is, but to be able, like as far as space you can have in Amazon's warehouse as a new seller, and
Mhm.
that is roughly about 4,000 books. So you
Wow.
could be sending, and if you can keep up with 4,000 books by yourself, just with selling, you got to teach me something, because that's
Right.
incredible. That's hard. That's not easy to do. But the point is you're not, space is not going to be an issue on that end. If your main concern is, hey, which platform and how should I get in and which side of that platform, I would start with FBA, because it's going to allow you to build up some funds, build up some extra money to where you're like, okay, I can start justifying spending more time sourcing and building that up. And then you can get to the point of, hey, I can maybe pay somebody to do all my listings for me. And then you can get to the point of,
Right.
well, hey, I'm making enough. Maybe I want to, I don't know if you're, you love your job or your career path or whatever, but you can move forward into maybe taking the book game to being a full-time career for
Yeah.
you.
Cody, you just touched upon a good point for Kurt, which is, because he's busy already with a full-time job. Kurt, I think part of the question you have to ask yourself is, how much would you like to be making from this business
Mhm.
each month? You know, you need to factor that in, and which platform, if not both, gives you the best chance to make that number.
Okay.
And if you go back to our, I think it was last week, Cody, our episode about hiring an employee,
Mhm.
if you go back to that, that's going to help you answer some questions, because I would think you're a prime candidate to have someone 10, 15 hours a week
Mhm.
helping you build your store from the ground up.
Yeah. Okay.
And I, it depends on, again, on what your situation financially is each time, but I never want to be the person that says quit your job and start doing it. I definitely think you can build this sort of operation
Right.
in baby steps, where you're able to devote very limited time and send into a platform like FBA, which allows you to scale without the time investment that it would take on the other platforms. And
Yeah.
then, it allows to add each layer in as you go.
What the other, I guess the follow-up question to that is that what is the best tools to evaluate your book? So I don't think I'll have issue getting books, but what are the tools I need to have at my access to say, hey, they're moving down to Max or moving out to Amazon or whatever.
So your two main sourcing tools you're going to need, Scout IQ and Keepa. Keepa is there for your books that are either, when you see a book and it's saying, hey, you can make $350 on this book,
Right.
or Scout IQ says, hey, we don't have any data on this book. Those are the books that you want Keepa for, because what Keepa can tell you is when a book sells and how much, roughly, like what the lowest average price of that book was when it sold. So, and that's on Amazon's platform, because again, your scouting tools, that's the downside to any of the scouting tools, is that all that they can do is look at what the prices are currently, what people have it listed for,
Right.
and how fast the book sells. They don't actually see what the book is selling for, and that's where Keepa can come into play. So, and again, you're not using Keepa for every book. You're just using it for the ones that make you scratch your head when you look at that number. When you're like, that's a really high price for that book, or hey, there's no listings for that book. That's when you're able to go in and check Keepa to see, okay, this is what I should be pricing my book.
Is Keepa KEPA? Is that what you're saying? Keepa?
KEEPA.
Okay.
But you're going to get, Kurt, you're going to get a full history of the sales of that book on Amazon because of Keepa, and that's going to give you the best insight into you understanding the price. Using Keepa is also a great place to learn the price of books and the rarity of books. It's they don't even call it that, Cody, but I think it's also a learning tool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I think you can learn so much from just understanding why a book sells so much in, say, a 6-month period as opposed to a 12-month period, as opposed to a 3-year period. You'll actually get to see that division of when the book sells.
And the picture scan, what is that called within Amazon?
When you get your Amazon account created,
Right. Yep.
you'll be able to see that on the top right side of the app, and you can scan any cover of any book and be able to see within a very reasonable accuracy if that's that same book or not. I always double check, because on the good thing with Amazon is when you click on that Amazon listing and you pull up the page where it's for sale, every Amazon listing is going to have a breakdown on, towards the bottom of the page where it says who the author is, who the publisher is, what the copyright year is. And if you can match all that data up, you've got the same book that's for that listing. Now I pulled up Pallet IQ. This isn't one that you'll be using, but this is just what I use. It's basically Scout IQ for the computer. But this is a part of why I say don't focus on red and green rejects or good. focus on the numbers. So as you can see, the rank is 0 for this book, which means it's just nothing, no e-score. And there's 8 people right now on the listing, anywhere from $208 to $428. But Pallet IQ is telling me, it's like, hey, this book never sells. It doesn't matter what they listed it at. It's not worth doing anything with. But what I do, anytime I see something weird like that, that's when I go and I look at Keepa. This is the beautiful thing on Keepa. Now, this is just an extension I have on Google that allows Keepa to pull up on my webpage. But we can go back in time and really see the data on this. So I have this set up to all data. So this goes all the way back to 2021 for this book, right?
Yeah.
You can see right here, there was a big gap in time when it was selling to now. So do you know? I know you've been there, but I can go over this. The green line represents the rank, and when you see this green line right here go down and come back up, that almost every single time represents a sale of that book. And this black line represents what the lowest average sell price is when that dip happens. So that means, you know, you're going to be able to see it. So but if you look, we're going to go in time where the book was actually selling. So I'm going to zoom in for us here. So this is the same book that they say is a reject. But if you look, you'll see what the lowest average sell price was multiple times, like in 2021, $68.99, $67, $69, $68, $69, 68, 69. And then what happened whenever click the wrong button. But you can look and see what's different when the price is above, you know, 200, 100, all these high numbers. The main factor is, hey, people have it listed, but it's not selling. It's not selling for that price. So what I'm doing with this exact same book is I'm going to be listing it at the lowest average sell price when the book was selling. And it'll be a good book, you know. Now, obviously, I have this is a library binding of it, and I've got to, you know, make sure I describe that with my listing. But this is a good book. This is why I say don't let red and green, you know, get. Now there are going to be plenty of books that just have, you know, like they're going to have such a good sales rank and such a good amount of comps as far as what's listed to compare to just be able to look at it at a glance and be like, okay, good book, or okay, bad book. You know, if the sales rank is like 2 million and the lowest price on there is like $4, you know that it's just not a good book and not worth your time. And you know, on the opposite end, if it's a book that it's saying, hey, it sells for $50 and the sales rank is like 100,000 and it's got a good e-score, you know, you don't have to go to Keep It for that either. You know, you're able to see that it's selling. That's what the majority of your books are going to be. But these are the books that can really, you can add into your account that can make up for, you know, this would be the same thing as like 10 or 15 or 20 smaller cells, you know, and the market is obviously willing to pay for this book. They want the book, but they're not willing to pay the high price. So what that tells me as well is if I send this in at the price that it was actually selling for, it's probably going to sell pretty quick because people are wanting it. So, but yeah, that's kind of, I know we went a little bit over on it, and I know that that's a lot to take in, dude. I don't expect you to now I say this, you are a Keepa expert, but they're based off of our videos that you've seen, we've got, and everything else out there, there's tons of free information everywhere on how to read this stuff. Same with utilizing Scout IQ. You have our Discord. There are plenty of people in there that use Scout IQ, myself, others as well, that can help you like really start to get into it. Your only thing to make sure what you're doing with FBA is you're sending in books, good books that actually sell. And if you do that, you're going to succeed. You're going to there are going to be books that you're going to send in and they're going to be duds and it's going to be an accident, but guess what? it's going to be marginal. If you truly devote the time, you don't like, oh, I sent in a box and then 3 weeks later I'll send in another box. You're not going to be able to build anything off that. But
Right.
if you actually set aside a certain amount of time and build your inventory up and keep sending stuff in, you're going to the mistakes you make along the way are going to be marginal compared to what you'll be able to grow your business.
Yeah, and
Very
Kurt,
good.
Kurt, it is an amazing time to be a bookseller. Cody and I talk about this all the time. Probably every time in our Paper Gold shows on Thursday nights is you're getting the data.
Yeah.
5 years ago, you couldn't really collect this data the way it's collected now. So you can hold a book in your hands, and Johnny B will tell you this. You can hold a book in your hands, and you have as close to an accurate idea
Yeah,
or
that's
an
yeah.
estimate when it's going to sell, what it should sell for. And if you can, you're in a perfect position because you get to build from the ground up with all of this knowledge we're giving you.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's an amazing. It's going to be great to see you launch into 2024.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for the time.
I was watching one of your guys' calls, and I was curious on the collectible category in Amazon. I know Cody had mentioned that that is a way to get around the fair pricing policy at times. So my question involving that is, we love dealing with fair pricing policy, which sarcasm implied here. What would be the qualifier of marking as collectible? Because the downside of collectible, for those that don't know, is it doesn't get the buy box. But if you're the only FBA listing, does it really matter because you're the only FBA listing? So I see that as one, but are there qualifiers outside of that?
Let's say Johnny B, I mean, let's just say that he has a very phenomenal vintage paperback. I'm the one I'm going to think about in my head is the first paperback edition of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which was made into a great movie. But I know that's a very good paperback. Can he have it listed both in collectible and in the regular marketplace?
So the collectibles market is the same thing. It's the same thing as the other as everything else. It's just another way of describing what the book is. So you're basically going to, there's kind of three main categories. You've got new condition, you've got the used condition, and well, I guess you do have collectible condition, but again, those are the three main types. But based off of all of those, but mostly just in the used market, you can you select what the condition of the book is as well. So whether it's good or acceptable. In my opinion, those are the only two things you should really be doing as far as conditioning on Amazon, is good or acceptable. But collectible, the way to utilize it is actually think about if the thing is collectible or not. In my opinion, oftentimes that really is one of the main factors, but also the main reason you're going to get those high pricing errors, from my experience, is going to be based off of what Amazon has the list price at. So you'll see that they'll have their target list price. If Amazon has a book that's, that's like an $85 book, but they had their list price at $10 or $15, oftentimes, from my experience, those are the books that get hit with the high pricing errors. So those are the ones that I will tend to send in as collectible. But also too, what I say is, if I send in tons of acceptable condition books, and from my understanding, those don't get the buy box either. You don't have to. Buy box is a part of your Amazon business. It is not what your Amazon business is. If you're making your entire Amazon business based off the buy box, I think you're not going to be able to build a sustainable business practice off of that, because you're going to have plenty of books where the buy box is at $25, and that's okay for right now. Amazon's okay with that for right now. But then they come along and they're like, yeah, well, the buy box is $25, but we've got 150 different people selling this book for $4.99 merchant fulfilled. Yeah, we're probably going to get rid of that. So that's why I don't utilize buy box. Isn't what I use to make a decision on whether or not to send a book in, almost ever. because there are tons of books that you're going to have that are like that. Those are going to be the ones, especially from when I first started compared to where I'm at now. I very rarely get high pricing errors anymore, like hardly at all. But if you're sending in a book that's $4 merchant fulfilled and the buy box is 20 plus, you're gonna eventually you're either gonna sell it fast enough to where it's not gonna matter, or it's not gonna sell in time and they're gonna hit it with a high pricing error. That because Amazon will usually jump in on the listing and they'll try and compare it with the merch, like they'll do a prime bump for it, but it'll be way more comparable to the merchant fulfilled listings.
Johnny, have you had any luck so far in the collectible market on Amazon?
We've never done it.
I think it's worth the experiment.
I've found that if I keep my high price errors or weird inventory stuff taken care of on a daily basis, it helps a lot with sales, just from my experience. But
Yeah,
I
we
want
lower
you
the prices every 15 minutes until it lets us in.
yeah, but I would go through, I want you to look at all of those books and see how many of those books are because Scout IQ or whatever told you, hey, send this in because the buy box is this price, when in reality merchant fulfilled pricing is much much lower than what it's trying to tell you to set the buy box price for. I would be very curious to know what percentage of those books are because of that reason.
That's a very good observation. And what is your ratio differential on those books? I guess is my question there on what you should really be doing it versus what the buy box says. Like like your example of $4 merchant versus $20 buy box, should you land somewhere at 15 usually?
Yeah. It's almost exactly. I'd go through and find a fair price. Like that it really is that simple. It's that simple. Because not only are you getting out of the high price error, but you're the only person most of the time, if you're actually paying attention to this stuff, that has the listing up for Prime. So especially if it's a good fast selling book, you're going to be the next sale. Who cares? You're going to make $10 less, but you're moving the product. You paid $1, you paid less, whatever. You're moving the product, and that's what this whole game is.
Yeah, sell-through rate's king. ASP's
We
not.
we talk about this all the time. It is about moving the product and not holding on for $5 or $10 more.
Yeah, and Johnny B, that's why, just like what I was saying with Kurt, that's why I don't look at red or green. I probably have horrible trigger settings for my scouting tools, but I don't pay attention to them anymore.
You look at the data thing, but the merchant fulfilled comparison to buy box is something new. So I'm glad you answered that.
Yeah, well, merchant comparison to even prime listings too. Buy box or prime listings or both. If it's not hit with it yet, it either eventually will, or the prices are going to go down.
Sure.
It's one of the two is going to happen.
Question on collectibles or anything other than books. Does Amazon offer the same FBA program for anything? Or is it only books? I mean, you could, whatever you come up with, you can put a box full and send it to them?
Yeah. No, there's different there's different categories. Like you have to do different things for the other categories. Some require you to,
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely. There are people who build an entire business model off of groceries on Amazon, like every different type of thing. So
wow.
But Kurt, with that question being asked, I don't want you to think that you could just fill a box for Amazon.
Right.
It has to be something that's sellable, and
correct.
I would hopefully have you look at Keepa for this stuff to see what the history is.
And Keepa is still good for anything, not just books.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Gotcha.
Keepa is good for toothbrushes. You could sell toothbrushes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh
strawberries.
That's why, Kurt, that's why I just said this earlier to everybody, which is we are in an amazing time to understand how the velocity of the items we have can sell.
Yep.
And it's only going to get better.
Long-term storage. Another episode you guys did. When you decide that it's worth long-term storage, that book will sell at some point down the road, it's just going to be longer than 6 months. Do you have a perpetual leave it in there timer, or not even a timer at that point? Or do you have like, okay, I'm going to give it a year, or I'm going to give it 2 years, or I'm going to give it 3 years? What is your personal cutoff for how long you're leaving a particular item in long-term storage and eating those fees accumulating?
So I don't have there's not one specific time frame for all books. I have each book has their own individual, change for it. So I just go through and I look every few weeks. I'm like, okay, if a book has been sitting for let's say it's sat there in my inventory for a year, I can go through and analyze. I'm like, okay, I verify, I'm like, does this book actually sell? If it hits the check mark, okay, then I'm like, okay, what is the history of the book selling for? And I can see, and then also have people jumped on that listing, and has the price gone down for that book? If I expected to be able to profit $50 at one point in time, but now people have jumped in on that listing and my expected profit has gone down from 50 to $10, then I'll probably remove the book. But I mean, dude, if you're doing the proper research on this stuff and you're not just relying on your repricer for every book, you go through like with me, like this is the perfect example right here. I don't know if you guys can make it out, but for my lister, if I ever have a book that I'm like, just like I was saying with, everybody was on that listing for 200 and something dollars. I put my price, what I want it to be, what my max price is on my barcode, so that when he goes to list it, he not only scans it there, he puts that price in, but he scans it again into a document that we both share with that price. And so I know to go in and set my repricer to say, hey, I want you to go up to $69 and no more. Like, that is the highest price you can list this book for. And then I can set the minimums for it if I want to. I very rarely ever put a minimum price in. But if you're going through and you're making sure you're doing your due diligence with what you're sending in, you're really never going to have to deal with that hardly at all.
So qualify it in advance.
Exactly. And make sure when as you're listing, and if you're organized with your pricing and everything in your listing, you save yourself a headache down the line. You make sure what you're sending in is actually good product that is going to sell at some point, and you're pricing it at the point of what it would actually sell for. You're good to go, baby. Like, that's it's money.
Cody, how many times have you pulled the book from long-term storage that you just gave up on in the past, say, 6 months? Because I think that would be the best way to answer the question. There you go.
Zero. I've pulled 0 books.
And I can tell you this because I speak with Cody every day. This is solely because he does the research.
Right.
He knows, and he knows what to price a book at, and he'll still get surprised every now and then. But for him to say he's pulled 0 books from long-term storage, he's winning the game.
Yeah. And now that doesn't mean that I'm not paying long-term storage fees. I am paying long-term storage fees. Every month I pay long-term storage fees, but that is a cost of running that sort of operation on FBA. But the benefit to running that sort of operation on FBA is I can sell the books for a little bit higher price, or I just guarantee I'm the next sale by matching what the other merchant fulfilled offers are. If it's, let's say, a long tail book, it takes a while to sell. I'm going to match that $50 price tag. If it's a $3-4 million or $3-4 million ranked book, I'm going to match the merchant fulfilled prices, because I want to be the next sell for that book. And if nobody else is on the listing FBA and I price my book fair, if it's long tail, that means people aren't looking for that book every day. But when somebody comes along and they see it, they're like, well, especially when you've got people that are trying to price it higher, they're like, oh, well, I can go ahead and get this book right now, but I'm paying $80 for it and it'll be shipped here Prime, or I can just wait a little bit, have it shipped here merchant fulfilled for $50. I want them to be like, oh, I can get it merchant fulfilled for $50, but I can get it prime for $50 too. You're already winning by selling that book at $50. You don't have to sell it at $80 because you're not guaranteeing that you're going to actually be the sell on that book doing it that way. You may be the next sell for it, but why not just I mean, it's not a certainty that you will be, but most of the time I can guarantee that if I price a long tail book at the same price other merchant fulfilled offers are, I will most of the time be the next sell for that book, especially if there's no other prime listings, and especially if there's no other prime listings that are matching that price as well.
So a follow up to that is you did say you look them up periodically.
Yeah.
Is that part of your daily routine, or is that a once a quarter thing for you, or an annual thing?
To be honest with you, I probably should have a better schedule for it, but it's just kind of like when I feel it. That's all. That's all I can say for you know
That's
when
fair.
I'm like, you know, I probably should check in on this stuff. Or if I'm looking like, my long-term storage fees for this month have kind of gone up a good bit. Is there any book that's particularly affecting it that way? Because again, you're going to have books where the sale of that book is what's going to pay for your long-term storage fees for all of your other long-term storage books. So yeah, you're not going to make money
Yes.
off of one of your books that's long tail. You're not going to make any money off of it because it's paying for your fees to keep the rest of them in, but you're going to make money off of the other ones. You know what I'm saying? Like you're using the inventory to pay to keep your inventory up. It's just again, that's why I say it's a part of playing the Amazon game. If you want in and you want to do it right, you gotta be willing to sacrifice things, and you're not paying up for these books. You know, that's you're if you're paying $20 for that book, then you do something different with it. But you're not. You know.
So if the numbers factor in deciding to move a book into long-term storage versus liquidation, what is a qualifier for you in that regard? Like,
Well,
is 6 month mark, are we going to leave it in, or are we going to liquidate it, kind of deal?
I don't. Again, it's well. First off, I never liquidate. I
Okay.
don't liquidate anything because if I'm sending because me personally, if I'm sending something in, it's going to be a good book in some way or another. I would much rather yeah, you can get paid a little bit for it, but I'm fine even if it's a book I'm just going to lose money on. If it was a book that was selling for $20 and it turned into a $5 book down the line, I'm just like, okay, whatever, I'll just ship it back. I ship everything back because most of the
Really?
time I ship everything gets sent because it costs the exact same amount to destroy it versus to get it shipped back to you. Those two things cost the same. Now, with liquidation, sometimes it doesn't cost as much, but I would much rather get everything sent back to me and reevaluate it. But again, I have everything turned off for automatic removals, and I would recommend you guys doing the same thing after verifying what your inventory is. Go through, cull your inventory, look at what things are like. And if you can go through and do that with your inventory and make sure what you're sending in is actually good, is good products, you won't in the future, it's not going to be this big of a headache. You know, you'll have the same mindset as me. Your mindset is that way right now because I'm guaranteeing there's plenty of just Scout IQs accepts that were just like $5 books where the prime listings were out of whack or the buy box is out of whack, and those eventually changed. Let's say maybe they didn't give you a repricing error, but the price stabilized on Prime, and so it's no longer that $4. It's no longer that $20 book. Now it's a $7 book or a $6 book. You know, whatever it might be. Those can factor into the same thing. But again, yeah, book prices are going to change all the time. Just be willing to accept that. Cull through your inventory, get all that stuff set up and running and operating efficiently for you. And again, in the future, that's going to be such a small, at least on my end, doing it the way I'm doing it now, I don't spend hardly any time with that because most of the stuff eventually sells anyway. I'll spend $50 on long-term storage fees one month. I'll spend $75 another month. I'll spend $30 another month. But again, when I'm selling 100 books that are making $100 a piece in that month,
It's
that
just a
makes it
small
well worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's the cost of doing business. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You know, I think someone like Kurt, who is about to launch, Cody, when Kurt starts going on Amazon, just, you know, help him with his settings and get him started the right way. So all of the work is done beforehand and very little work, you know, post once the books are FBM or FBA for him.
I tell everybody too, you know, a lot of people ask me like, oh, well, I need to get all my Scout IQ triggers set. I'm like, I'm not that guy. I'm not like the back end. I don't have that knowledge. I really don't know how to get all that stuff set up properly. But if you're asking, hey, how do I read this data and to know if I have a good book or not, that I can teach. And I
Yeah.
think that is going to be, that not only will make you a better Amazon seller, but if you're paying attention to what you're doing, it will make you a better book hunter in the long run. You're going to be able to start identifying and seeing the types of books based off of just what they look like or what they feel like by reading those numbers and reading that data instead. You're taking yourself out of the just following what the numbers tell, the red or green, and putting yourself into the role of a seller, a book seller.
And Kurt, I'll say this, and I'm going to speak on behalf of Cody and Johnny. The three of us sell books every day, and I'm sure we're shocked at the prices we get for some of our books every day.
Yeah.
Not 5 days a week, 7 days a week. So utilizing what Cody's talking about with Keepa is going to be it's going to be a teacher for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, they don't really talk about Keepa that way, but I think they should.
So now that I have a better rounded picture of how you're doing things, it's a better way than what I'm doing. So I'm gonna make some modifications on my end. So thank you for that, first of all. To that end, my last one I got for you, box of books come in. You pull the box of books, do the necessary work, and then you're gonna scan it into Pallet IQ. And then some of those piles you're gonna sub-scan or take a closer look via Keepa, correct? Or are you checking Keepa for each and every single book?
No, absolutely not. Like that's what I was saying to Kurt at the beginning, which is the data can tell, like the sales rank and the e-score and the listings, like what's active will tell you the answer most of the time. Like the majority of the time that will tell you. Now, if you're looking at the buy box instead of what's actually active, then that's not going to tell you everything necessarily. But if you look through and you're like, okay, I've got, let's say it's a book where the sales rank is 25,000. There's, 20 plus merchant fulfilled offers at $10. Then there's 8 or 10 FBA offers at 20, $25. It's going to be a good book. Like you don't have to go to Keepa to see that. And same goes on the opposite end, where if you've got a book where the sales rank is 1 million, 5 million, whatever, and the highest price listed for the book is like $6, it's a bad book. Like you don't have to look at data to know that that's a bad book. And that's what you'll be able to see with I would say 85-90% of your books. No, it varies based off of your collection that you're picking up, because sometimes you're just going to find a collection of books that are just kind of, they're harder to see. But I would say on the majority of your collections, 80% of, at least 85% of those books are going to be able to be seen by just off the data of what's active. Again, not just with the buy box, but utilizing seeing the numbers and what people currently have the book listed at.
No, it's just the merchant filled number we haven't been really paying attention to. So that'll be a nice modification, actually, because we've been ignoring the colors. We've been ignoring the buy box alert because it's meaningless, honestly. Mm-hmm. But the merchant filled wasn't a factor, so that's a good clarification. So thank you. And I'm done with my questions now.
Yeah, but that just as one last little note on that, that to me, this is just from my experience. I want to end this by saying I'm not going to pretend that I am a guru and know all things about how Amazon works and what Amazon does to make their decisions. But what I can say is my experience with it, and based off of my experience, that those have been some of the bigger factors. Either A, if you're sending in a book that Scout IQ is saying good because of the price that it wants to target, but the merchant fulfilled's, too low. Or B, if there is a listing price, what Amazon's recommended listing price is, and you go too far above that, then you're going to get hit with those repricing errors too. So those, from my experience, have been the two main factors. And since, especially after having my lister now go in and we put the prices in ahead of time, I mean, it's only if something drastic, like if Amazon comes in on a listing, where books were consistently
Yeah.
selling for like $40, but Amazon wants to come in at 20, then I can get hit with a reprice or with a high price error. But then I just go and match or go a little bit lower than Amazon and just move the product. Because if Amazon's got it, they probably got a bunch of it. So, oh well, I didn't make it. I didn't make what I was expecting to, but I made something, or I didn't lose money. You just moving it. Moving it is it is the end goal for everything for Amazon and eBay.
Johnny asked a great question earlier in his email to us that jumps onto what we're talking about now. He talked about space and media, and you and I really love that question because we really haven't talked about that a lot. And I think we could do some justice for him now in answering that. Do you remember that question, Johnny?
Yeah, and that was more of a general thing, and it's a thing I've dealt with myself, is at some point you're going to reach a critical mass, and you have a workflow, and part of that workflow is buying. So critical mass, your maximum capacity, you can't really cram another book in. Do you still continue that maximum, continue to buy and just stack them even higher somehow, some way, and deal with the situation later? Okay, it's time to get new space, or wait, we're going to pump the brakes and list what we got or get the stuff out our door before we do any more buying, kind of scenario. That's always an interesting struggle bus question.
I think though that if you're buying smartly and you can process quickly and get rid of the stuff that isn't good. And again, Cody did this last night, and Cody, you and I did this yesterday from two different estates. Cody dropped off his duds at a bookstore and received trade credit for it. And I dropped my stuff off a state away from an estate that I went to yesterday, and I processed in the evening time, and I received trade credit and cash for it. If you can start getting in that avenue of where you're processing quickly and holding on to your good stuff by getting it listed, I don't think you should ever stop buying, because if you can get trade credit and you can get, trade credit or cash, you're bringing money into the business. But as far as space, if you're at a critical mass space warning, I think you need to either lower prices or something I've spoken to you about before, which is I would love to see you in the Whatnot platform, because I think that's a great place for you to make a good profit, get a great following for what you're selling. And I know time is an issue with you, but you're going to create more space by moving that product.
And one thing that I'd like to add to that real quick too is if you are overflowing on inventory that you have inside your warehouse space, I don't think that it would be a question if you needed to get more space, if your sales were doing what they should be doing based off of what space you're utilizing it. You would be like, all right, got to get another space. It would be no question. The only reason it would be a question is if you're not making as much sales as you would want based off of what your inventory currently is. So I would 100%, even if it's Whatnot or if it's a yard sale or if it's donating stuff, go through cull inventory until you're profiting off the space you're utilizing as much as you feel you should be, because you do not need, especially in the media game, you don't need a massive warehouse space in order to do really well, in order to have really good sales. Like Max is literally his house. Like his house is what he's utilizing in different sections, different areas. He does not have a warehouse. Like if you were to equate what he's utilizing for storage into a warehouse, it would be at least it wouldn't be any bigger than what I have. I would say mine's probably bigger than the space he's currently utilizing for his books. So yeah, I think that if that is a question that you're asking and you're asking yourself, then I think the answer is like what Max was saying is move product, get stuff out. You've learned since you started, and I'm sure you have plenty of inventory in that you had from when you started. And just go through and be like, man, this hasn't made me anything, and it's been sitting here. Are you going to lose out on a few bucks? Sure. But you know what? That space is going to be well worth it in the long run.
Let's keep in mind, I'm sure we all do this, but I get phone calls and Cody gets phone calls every day about going into people's homes who couldn't let go of their product.
Yep.
And several times a year, I'm going into the home of a bookseller who couldn't let go of product and who couldn't lower prices. And now I'm getting the opportunity to get their collection. And it's taught me a valuable lesson, which is to just move the product. I mean, for me, it's what is my daily number? What is your daily number? What do you want to make? And just work to getting to that number. And if you do that, that's how your book dreams come true.
And that's not going, that doesn't mean that you can't have your items where you're like, oh, I really think I can get this for it. Or I really, you want to have the wish upon the star items. Totally fine. I do that with Max all the time. Like we have that conversation where Max is like, dude, just sell the damn thing. And I'm like, no, dude, the market's hungry for it. It has sales history and nobody has it up listed right now. I'm listing this thing high and I'll wait if it doesn't sell. But that's going to be so marginal compared to the majority of your inventory. Let that be, the small portion of everything, and everything else just get it gone.
What a great episode, man.
That was good.
We hit some fire on that. That was great.
Had some great questions.
We worked overtime. We'll build Johnny B for the overtime on that one.
Okay. And just remember too, guys, and this is for everybody watching at home. You'll miss out on this part, but we're having our Q&A tonight where it's all questions from the patrons. So ask we're not locked in. This isn't the end. We'll have plenty of time tonight to be able to work on some others. And if you guys are not yet subscribed to Paper Gold Patreon, this is what we do every week, and we try and help everybody out. We like to give back what we received when we first started. We'd like to help people not make the same mistakes that we both made when we first started. And it's just a fun community to be a part of. You get access to our Discord where you can have questions answered, anything like that. We're all the time trying to just improve and grow our community. So unless Max, you have anything else, I'm Cody the Book Guy.
I got to tell you just about our Discord. One of the most amazing things daily for me is when I wake up at 6 or 7 in the morning and I see that there's been 47 new messages, not to me, but 47 new messages on the Discord, people talking into the wee hours of the morning about books. It's very exciting to see what they've been talking about. And the longer that Discord is alive for us, it's becoming so encyclopedic for everything we talk about on the Zoom calls, everything we're talking about now on this channel. It's just a great piece of information to become a bookseller. And like we talked to Kurt earlier, this is a great time to do it. And it's only going to get better. So thank you to each of you for being in the show. We will see you tonight for the Q&A final show of 2023. And I cannot wait to see you guys launch into 2024. Have a great day.
Great. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you guys so much.
You guys are awesome.
Here. Hey. We're okay sometimes.
Sometimes. Bye-bye.
Bye.